if you are in a place where it is appropriate and comfortable for you to do so, please close your eyes and start to take a few slow, long, deep, relaxing breaths in through your nose and out through your mouth. With every inhale, feel more light and peace entering your body and mind. On every exhale, feel like you're able to let go of all tension and anything you do not want. Inhaling peace and exhaling, feeling more relaxation. We picture ourselves on top of a beautiful mountain in the center of a circular grove of trees. And in the center of our circle, a bonfire blazes forth, lighting us and the grove up with a sacred golden light. This is the light of perfect love and perfect trust, and it quickly and easily burns away anything that is unlike itself. Into this sacred space, we invoke the presence of our Creator. To many of us, our Creator reveals themselves to be a god and goddess, a mother and father. Into this sacred space, we also invoke the presence of our teachers, our angels, and our guides. We ask that we walk along the path, being guided and led every step of the way, so that we become happier, more peaceful, more joyous, more healthy, more prosperous, and more loving people. Thank you very much. And if it is appropriate for you to do so out loud, you can join me in saying, "Blessed be." Thank you so much for joining us today. I would like to discuss the topic of cursing today. One of the axioms in the craft states, a witch that cannot curse cannot heal. And you can look at magic as being one of two categories, magic of healing and magic of cursing, or magic of blessing and magic of cursing, if you will. Even the simple act of doing a banishing of a negative situation in your life is a type of cursing. When you curse something, you are blasting it. You are destroying it. You are finding some way to negate it or say no to it or deny its existence or its power to harm you. If you think about metabolism, there's always two sides to metabolism. There's anabolic and catabolic processes. And the same thing is true for magic. There's always a building up and a tearing down. And that's the difference between blessing and cursing. Cursing is the power to negate. It's the power to banish. And it's something that we do that helps us to find a positive outlet for things like anger and resentment and depression and hatred and desire for revenge and retribution. Ultimately, our goal is peace. Our goal is peace and forgiveness. But you play lip service to peace and forgiveness if you are pretending you're not feeling the feelings that you're feeling. If somebody has wronged you and then you get right to the forgiveness, it's like somebody dying and not going through the grieving process. You can't skip over these things. And when you stop pretending and actually use your upset for something positive, cursing then becomes one of our many tools that we can use for alchemical transformation within us. When you curse another person, you are cursing yourself because you can't do to another something that you're not doing to yourself. So when you curse another person, even when it's very justified, you have to remember that you're holding your own feet to the fire. You're realizing that if you mistreat another person in the same way that you have been mistreated, then that same curse is going to come back on you. And that's exactly what it needs to do. When you are wronged by another person, very often people will tell you that you need to find forgiveness immediately. You have to turn the other cheek. And I agree with that. I do agree with that is our goal. But it's an empty goal if you're not being honest with what you're feeling and what you're experiencing. How is it possible to forgive somebody if you can't stand up for yourself? How is it possible for you to forgive somebody if there isn't accountability. When somebody apologizes, it's much easier to forgive them than if they don't. If they don't think that they've done anything wrong, or if they are just being arrogant about the whole thing, it's very difficult to find forgiveness. And so it's not up to them to change their behavior in order for us to find forgiveness. It's up to us to do what we need to do to find the forgiveness. And one of the roads to finding forgiveness is cursing. And that's not to say that you're going to go curse every single person in the world, but it is to say that you do have that tool available to you should you need it. You're not impotent, magically speaking. How often do you find yourself in need of peace over something that someone else did to you? You didn't do anything. You were minding your own business, and they were jerks. They were mean. They were cruel. They trespassed against you. They attacked you. They were cruel to you. Now, when you've been on the receiving end of something like that and never even received an apology, never saw them understand what they did was wrong, and never got any sort of accountability for what they did, but the onus is on you to find forgiveness. How is that even appropriate? It makes no sense at all. So, yes, you want to find forgiveness, and it's a road. There's a journey. There's a path to forgiveness, and that is our goal. Our goal is peace. But you don't find peace and forgiveness by sticking your head in the sand and pretending like you don't feel what you're feeling, and pretending like they didn't do what they did to you. Saying, I forgive you in situations like that, it's just wishful thinking. It's not real. It's not authentic. We want to get there. Absolutely, we want to get there. And we will get there. That's our goal. And we can get there quickly sometimes if we can allow ourselves to curse them. I know that sounds weird. A lot of times people hear the idea that cursing is a method of forgiveness. They think that's kind of radical. But how can you find forgiveness without equity? How can you feel like you're ready to forgive if you're not square with that person? So you have it within your power to make things square. But we do need to talk about ethics when it comes to cursing. We have to recognize that what we do to another, we are doing to ourselves. And we have to take that very seriously. And we can't look at something like cursing as something that we do casually and without any forethought. It's not a frivolous practice at all. But we can reverse the evil that someone brings into our lives. We can reverse that evil. And they can get their own back on them with interest, and that's okay. It's not a form of attack on our part to do that. It's a form of evening the scores, of allowing ourselves to find that road to forgiveness and compassion. Because ultimately, hurt people hurt people. We know this is true. We know that ultimately, if they knew better how to get their needs met, they would have done it. We know ultimately, as a soul, they're not bad. They just have bad behavior. We get all of that. But that doesn't make any difference if we are broken and bloody because of the things they've done to us. Right? Just like in the physical world, you find forgiveness after they go to prison if they've done something like that, or after the restraining order has been taken out on them if they've done something atrocious. Then you find forgiveness. But you got to take care of yourself first. You got to have safety first. And the same thing goes for us, magically speaking. There is definitely a place for cursing. But it's not simply attack for attack's sake. It's something that we have to take very seriously and recognize that, like anything else in the craft, it's a sacred process. When you are going to curse another person, you need to go through in your mind and say, is this really the only way for me to find that forgiveness? Because a lot of times cursing is something that is done and it's okay to do, but it's as a last resort. It's as a last resort because there are real ramifications that come with it. And once you've cursed somebody, you can't uncurse them. It's done. It's sort of like you can't unsay certain things. Once you've cursed somebody, they're cursed. And so you want to make sure that you think things through before you go down that road. But oftentimes, you can find other ways of finding that forgiveness and that equity without going through the cursing process. But occasionally, that's really the only recourse you have. to protect yourself, to feel better about yourself, to feel and to make sure that accountability has happened. It can be a very dangerous process, especially if you get good at it. It can be very dangerous for you. You can really burn yourself. It's now you're working not just with candles, but you're working with nuclear weapons. Okay, so you've got to really understand what you're doing. But luckily for us, we have the psalmic path. And psalmic curses have within them some stopgaps. They have some protections within them. So they can wallop an amazing amount of cursing energy. In fact, there's other curses besides psalmic curses that work really well, but there's none that work better. Maybe as well, but none that work better than the psalmic curses. If you curse somebody and they don't deserve it, not only does that come back on you, but it comes back on you with interest. It really does. If you've cursed somebody who hasn't truly wronged you, they've just been bugging you, that really can destroy a person. And I've seen people that get into cursing as a sort of a recreational activity destroy their lives, and several I've known die because of that energy that feeds back on them again and again and again, just because they are involved with cursing because people annoy them, or they didn't do what they said that they wanted them to do, or whatever. So you got to be careful of that. And the good thing about the psalmic curses is if you are just being a brat and deciding to curse somebody, if you bring it to the Psalms will tweak it for you so that you're not going to get into that kind of trouble. The Psalms will tweak that for you and say, nah, a good try, but we're not having this. But if somebody in fact did wrong you, they're going to be able to know that they wronged you if you do a psalmic curse well. And they're going to know the score, and they're going to feel and see the effects of what they've done to you. And they're going to know that they messed with the wrong person. And they may not get that it came from you, but they will get that they did something wrong. And ultimately, all will be well. Ultimately, all will be well, because the psalmic curses have an ultimate goal of restitution, of making everyone whole again. And so through that psalmic cursing, you can get through your need for revenge. You can get through your need for retribution. You can get through your need to make sure that there's accountability in a very profound and very effective manner, so that you can find the forgiveness that is your ultimate goal. And remember that we forgive not for their sake. We forgive out of self-interest. Out of self-interest. And there's nothing wrong with self-interest. There's nothing wrong with self-interest. If you look out for yourself, everybody benefits. Can you imagine a world where everybody was just minding their own business? How different life would be? Everybody would get along in harmony because everybody would be getting their needs met, doing what they want to do. We would be living in a world where everybody is working their true will. And there would be harmony in this world. So when you forgive, don't do it for their sake. Do it for your sake. Their sake is none of your business. You're forgiving them because that gives you peace of mind. But you can't find that forgiveness and that peace of mind if you haven't gone through the honest appraisal of what they did to you and why it wasn't okay, and how you were victimized by them, and why you need them to be held accountable for what they did to you. Then you can find forgiveness. Then forgiveness is a given, right? Because you're not out for revenge in order to further this problem. You're out for accountability in order to end this problem. Then cursing is being used for its intended purpose, and that is to end conflict, find forgiveness, find wholeness, to correct bad behavior. It's good to think about this stuff. It's good to think about cursing in the light of how it is sacred magic, and that it's not appropriate very often. But when it is appropriate, you don't want to just say, no, we don't curse because, we're good people. Good people curse. Good people curse. Good people take out restraining orders too if they need to. Good people take people to court if they need to. Good people testify against criminals if they need to. That's what good people do. So sometimes good people curse too. And when it's a justified, righteous curse, you have nothing to worry about. And if it's not a justified and righteous curse, you can save yourself the problems of it by going to the psalmic curses, because then you've got stopgaps in there. You've got safety in there. And the cool thing about the safety of those psalmic curses is they don't have less effectiveness. They're very, very powerful. They are very effective. You will see the changes happening. But if you mess up and you start cursing somebody that doesn't deserve it and that wasn't appropriate, it's okay, because the Psalms are so well constructed that it'll find resolution for you in a more positive way so that you can find that forgiveness, so that you can find that peace. But if you were using a different type of cursing method that didn't have a stopgap, then you'd be in trouble. You'd be in big trouble by cursing people that didn't deserve it. So this is not to say it's time to just start going out and doing curses willy-nilly, but it is saying don't just automatically discount cursing out of hand as a very viable and holy thing that you can do in your craft, and that cursing is actually a part of the road sometimes to forgiveness and to peace and to restitution. And if you use the psalmic curses, you're going to be smart, because you're not going to get a negative fallout should you be on the wrong path. There are several psalmic curses that are really good. The main ones are Psalms 7, 35, 55, 58, 59, 69, 79, 109, 137, and 139. And I'll put these in the video description. Those 10 Psalms can be used as a 10-day curse to cast a wallop of a curse, a really effective one, and make sure that all is well in your life. Nobody is going to be able to mess with you because you know how to take care of yourself. You know how to stand up for yourself. You know how to say no to the bullies. And the only way that a bully knows to stop being a bully is when someone stands up to them. And that's what you can do with these curses. So thank you for spending a little time with me. I hope this was interesting for you. Until next time, blessed be.